Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. We got a rock-solid episode lined up for today. I'm talking to my fast friend over here, Trunnis Goggins, before we started recording and unpacking what we're going to talk about, and I'm excited to dive in. So we are going to talk about the 4 Ps of you. Trunnis is an author, and he's got a bunch of books coming out. He's already got one out. So let me introduce him now before we go any further. Trunnis, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here, Brandon.
Yeah, this is a great episode, and you were kind of blowing my mind before I hit record, so shame on me for not recording sooner, but we are going to unpack this for the audience. And before we get too far, though, you wrote the book and you have a podcast, the 4 Ps of you. Can you just explain and lay the foundation? What are the 4 Ps of you?
Well, this is a business show, so we all know the 4 Ps of marketing, right? I'm a business professor. I don't have to talk about the 4 Ps of marketing. I'm sure once I started talking about that, some of your guests like, no, I don't want to have that class ever again. But this is the 4 Ps of you, not the 4 Ps of marketing. These are purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. These are 4 Ps that you could take whenever you're making any type of decision in life, you're making any type of decision in the business world, you're making any type of decision, period. You want to make sure you know your purpose. In business, that's your mission most of the time. You always want to have a plan. You want to have an external, internal plan. That plan has to be strategic. You also have to have a passion. You have to really love what you're doing. If money is the only reason why you're doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. That's just the case. You've got to have passion for what you do. You have to get up in the morning and do whatever you're doing and almost feel guilty when you get paid because you feel like you're stealing somebody's money, and that's what I want you to feel. That's the passion that I want you to have in whatever you do. And then finally, it's persistence. And persistence, things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen to you. That's life. And there's no way around it. And you just need to be persistent. And that's where the passion, they almost go hand in hand. As much passion as you have is as much persistence as you're going to have as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm curious, before we find out where the book came from, when you were writing it, when you were thinking about the 4 Ps, what was your long-term vision of what did you want someone to get out of this framework of reading this book? What do you want someone to experience in their life?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was in the Navy, and when I was in the Navy, it was the greatest time of my life. It really was the greatest time professionally in my life. Even now, as much as success as I'm going through right now, it was still the greatest time. I had a lot of friends. I felt like I was doing something for not only myself, but for the entire country. And then when I got out of the Navy, I was lost, and I was totally lost. And that's the thing that a lot of people go through when they're going through life. So when I wrote this book, I wish I had a book like this where I could read, because that book, I start the book out with the purpose, almost grounding, like putting you in okay, this is where you are today. And you might be miserable today, but now let's get you out of that misery and let's find, rediscover your purpose. If you have your purpose and you lost it somewhere down the way. But then after you have that purpose and you've got that again, and you've got that drive a little bit, then what I want you to do is I want you to plan. And when you plan, you can't plan within a bubble. All right. And then after that, obviously, if you have your purpose, that passion has to be there. The purpose has to be your purpose. If it's, well, I'm doing this because my sister's doing this, or I'm doing this because my dad used to do that. If that's the principal reason why you're doing it, that's not your purpose. That's your dad's purpose. That's your sister's purpose. And then finally, again, again, the persistence part, we can go over that all day, just learn to fight through it and struggle. So my backdrop of this book actually came from, those memories of the times when I was transitioning from military to civilian life.
That's interesting, because find that a lot of people get in that situation, in that very point in their lives, probably every couple of years in some cases, and we lack that sense of purpose. We lack the sense of direction, and in business, people do it all the time. At least the people that come to us for consulting help, they think every idea is the next best idea, and they try it and it fails, and like, I don't know why it didn't work. And we're like, but where are you going with this? Right. So this is such a powerful concept that applies to both your life and business, like you're saying. Where did it really come from though? Like where did you put this framework in and say like, no, this is it, this is what all people need, and then you wrote this book out of it?
Well, I teach, and I still do, and it's one of the most rewarding things I could do is I go into prisons and I teach inmates who are getting out of prison. And the first thing I usually do in class is I give them like this, like get them excited about getting out. I mean, I don't know if I have to do that, but I mean, you're getting out of prison, but I still do it, right? I say, okay, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out of prison? And so, sometimes they said, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I can't wait to see. And some people like, I can't wait to see my daughter for the first time, and they start saying things like that. And then I say, no, what do you want? And it gets quiet, because a lot of times we know what we want as far as tangible things, but we don't know what we want. We don't know who we are. A lot of times we ask people, you're the worst question you can ever get asked in an interview is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Some people don't even see themselves where they see themselves in 5 minutes. So, and so this book is kind of like, all right, listen, I want you to constantly think about your purpose. Because if you don't, you're already in prison. You may not be behind bars, but you're in prison because you don't know what you want. Because the problem is, if you don't know what you want, someone else knows what they want from you. And at that point, just like if you're in prison, they tell you when to eat, they tell you what to wear, they tell you what to do. That person who knows what they want from you is going to tell you everything they want you to do, and they're going to tell you how you're going to do it. So that's what I want to make sure. And that's even in the business world. You've seen businesses that are in a reactive setting the whole time. And that's when they fail, because they don't have the finances, they don't have the resources, they don't have something to stay reacting to someone else's proactive efforts and proactive motions. We watched that years ago with Sears. When I was growing up, Sears was the best department store in the world. All right, it really was. You got a job or you got something at Sears, you were having it. And then other stores like Target, Walmart, Amazon, even before that, just started taking them over, and they started getting reactive. And because of that reactive, they lost their purpose. They lost who they were. And that's what happens in businesses. That also happens to people.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear an example from you, like, because you gave the example of I want Chick-fil-A, and then you say, no, what do you really want? Like, I don't think most people take the time to think about that, even in business. Like, what do you want for your company? So can you give me a few really good examples from either clients or even yourself of what is a good example of something you want?
I had a client who had a great concept for a gym. And she put the gym together. She did all these things. And I said, wow, this could be great. She said she wants it to be focused on women. She wanted to be all these different things. And I said, okay, you have a great plan. But I can go to any gym at any given time to work out. What makes yours different? And there was a pause. I said, I know what makes yours different, but you have to know what makes yours different. And if you don't understand what makes yours different, you're going to be in trouble. And about 3 years went by, and she gave me a call. This is after I consulted her. I gave her a business plan. I gave her all these things, and it was kind of successful. About 3 years later, never forgot about this individual. She called me up. She goes, I know exactly what I want my gym to be. I want it to be a full wellness center. I don't want it to just be. And then once she came out with that concept, she actually built a competitive advantage, and her business is extremely successful today because she had a struggle, but she finally found out what she wanted. again, I write this book because yes, we all struggle at sometimes, but I want people to kind of limit their struggle by first, before they start making moves, they really know where they're moving to. And I think this is a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And what it sounds like, at least the words you used, was she planned before she purposed. My word, not your words. But
Yeah.
how often?
I'm going to steal that, though. You know that, right?
Oh, please. It's all yours.
Okay.
So how many times do you see people planning before purpose, or a lack of purpose at all, when they come to you?
I think we all do. At some point, because sometimes we all have a plan where, oh, wow, we're going to, I want to go into business and it's going to be fantastic. And I'm going to sell hamburgers. There's your plan. All right. That's a great plan. What's your purpose? What do you want that hamburger to do? What makes me, why can't I just go to McDonald's? Why can't I just go to the burger place down the street? What makes your hamburger so special? And there's no purpose behind it. And if anything once you have a purpose, why is Chick-fil-A different than Popeyes? I know we said Chick-fil-A a lot and we're giving them free advertisement, but why is it different than Popeyes? Why is it that people actually act different at Target than they do at Walmart? I mean, there's actually a behavior, and it's an assumed behavior when you go to different places. I don't mind, working out and getting all sweaty and going to Walmart. But it's funny, when I go to Target, I take a shower before I go. It's just the way. Yeah, absolutely. I got, I'm buying the same thing for the same price, but I just need to do it a lot cleaner. But and that's what, and that's what when you have a purpose, it's funny that even your customers, even your brand, everybody follows that purpose with you. It becomes an event. It becomes, a cup of coffee at a regular coffee shop may be different than the cup of coffee that you get at Starbucks for some reason. And it's because the people who came up with those concepts, they had a purpose behind what they're going to do. That's not only why they're successful, it makes them stand out.
Yeah, it's true. And there's also, I'd like to point out the difference. In Target, there are Starbucks. In Walmart, there are Dunkin' Donuts. So have at it. Take that any way you like, but it's part of what you're talking about. And it's that's really true. I don't shower before I go to Target, but maybe I will. Now you're making me a little self-conscious here.
There you go.
But okay, so I want to unpack this, because so many people, if not all people, get into business without the purpose part first. It's the purpose is make money, fulfill this service, make this product that I really love making. And there's definitely passion, there's definitely planning. I see a lack of purpose all the time. So when you're working with people, or when people come to you, how do you go about working with an existing business that lacks the purpose piece, and then we need to recreate it, reinfuse it, and almost relaunch the company? Like, what does that look like?
First thing I ask any company that's struggling, I ask them, why are you doing this? Okay. If you cannot answer that question, I almost tell you, all right, we're going to have to start from scratch. And if it's to make money, you're not going to be in business long, because you need to, your company, your business needs to make a difference. I know this sounds so, whatever, and it sounds corny, but it's true. If your business is not making a difference, you're going to have a problem. My father was in business for almost 60 years. He owned a skating rink, a nightclub. He had a couple other businesses. The only business that really was, the only two businesses that were successful for a very long term was the skating rink and the nightclub. And the reason for that is because he focused on it, and he knew the exact reason why that building stood there. And he had a passion for that business. And when he started losing that passion when he got older, it's funny that the more passion he lost, it wasn't like the business was going with it. What would happen would be he would lose that passion first, and then the customers would leave with it. Okay. And that's what happens when he lost that purpose. When that purpose came, well, I'm doing this because I gotta pay the bills. All of a sudden that passion dropped. The purpose was gone, the true purpose. But when he had that purpose and that drive, that was the best, and it still is. I mean, I go on Facebook, I see different things, and this is years after my father has passed away, and they still talk about that business, but they talk about that business at the most passionate time. The pictures that I see on Facebook of people who went to that business, it was during the heyday of that place and the time when my father had the most passion.
It's so powerful. And I don't think we realize that too, because things become business as usual and it becomes day in, day out, and we lose the passion and the purpose over time if we're not careful. So what's your advice on keeping all four of these in check and making sure that you don't ever start to fade and your business can actually sustain beyond you?
You know, it's almost like this. It's almost like find something that you it's like in a marriage, basically. You know, what keeps the marriage fresh? You know, sometimes it's like going out on a date. Sometimes it's making phone calls. I watched this television show, and now I'm going to sound like a total nerd. You guys need to watch it, though. It's called The Resident Alien. It's on Sci-Fi. Great show. It's very funny. It's a really good show. It keeps you intact. Well, anyway, the mayor of this small town is called Patience, Colorado. The mayor of the small town and his wife were having marital issues, and they weren't talking. And so what they did was they decided they were going to go back to their old days, and they would talk to each other on the phone. And literally, they had their cell phones out, and the wife would go in the kitchen and sit in the kitchen, and the husband would sit on the couch in the living room, TVs off, everything off, nothing. And they would be on their cell phones. They would call each other and talk, and they would talk for hours, you know, according to the show. And it actually revealed. So in order for you to keep that passion, always, I'm not saying do something new just for the sake of doing something new, but always make sure that there's something new or something different or something that keeps that passion in your business. And I think that will always keep that. Once you keep that passion, it keeps that purpose fresh. It really keeps it fresh. And that's what you need to do.
That is such a cool tip. I've never heard that in regards to business, because they say always date your wife, or husband in marriage, but when you apply that to business, it doesn't sound as sexy, right? We're not going to start dating our business again, but that's a really cool perspective on how to stay with that passion ignited over and over and through the years. That's really, really cool. So what I'm going to do is let me toss your website here on the screen. You have a podcast where I assume you break all this down and you talk to other amazing guests, which is fantastic. And you also have the book too. So tell me, if someone wants to learn more about the 4 P's of you, and, you know, having purpose, having passion, all of this stuff, where should they go to take that next step?
Definitely go to the podcast. You can go to the 4psofyou.com. It is my website. My book's on there. You could purchase the book from there. It is, again, like I said, it is the start of a series of 4. I also do speaking engagements. You can actually schedule an appointment with me. We could talk about speaking engagements. I do consulting as well for for-profit and nonprofit companies. That's just come to the site. Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. I'm curious where you're going with the book. So you have 4 books, you have 1 out, you have 3 more coming out. You're speaking, you're podcasting. There's passion. I can feel it.
Absolutely.
Where are you going with this? What's your goal? What's your goal to make an impact on the world?
My impact on the world, I want people to again, just stay focused on what they want to do. I also want them to, again, have this. We're not here long. And I know that sounds really scary, but we're not. You know, I'm 53 years old. My dad lived to be 79. If I'm lucky, I got 26 years left. All right. Hopefully I'm way more lucky than that. But seriously, while you're here, have fun. Have fun. When you get done with this life, make sure you are not getting the deposit back. You tore it up, you know, and that's what I want you to do. And your business, again, your business, whatever business you have, make sure you leave a lasting legacy. You know, my dad died 10 years ago. People are still talking about his business. You know, that's what I want. I mean, that's what I would love to have everybody. I love for everybody to happen to everybody here.
It's an amazing legacy. And I think that's something that we don't think about all that often, is you get so caught up in the moment and just surviving, if you will. When you think about what happens when you leave, what do people say about you, you tend to act a little different. I actually, it was shared in church a few weeks ago. I heard the pastor say that their goal in everything that they do is to think first, if we were to leave this town, what would people miss about us being here? What would they say if we were to ever leave this town? And it just struck me because it was like, we don't carry ourselves that way in business. If your business ceases to operate, or if you go out of business, whatever it is, what is the legacy that people are going to miss? What's the impact that people are going to miss because you existed, because you were there? You start running your business like that, and you read the 4 P's of you first and foremost, and you go listen to the podcast, you're going to think about your life probably in a whole different lens. It's going to impact the way you show up day to day. So Trunnis, this has been an amazing episode. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. I enjoyed being on there. Thank you so much.
This is fantastic. For those of you listening, watching, wherever you are, first and foremost, go to the website. It's on the screen. All the links will be in the show notes as well down below. And make sure you subscribe. If you don't listen to Harmonious at Lunch, I mean, what are you even doing? Am I right? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, subscribe. We love having you here. We do this for you. Make sure we see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Thanks for listening.